Alright guys, what's up? It's me, Valandris, and today we'll be talking about... People say it's the new Grease, I don't think so. It's just an alternative way to play Hammer. It's called the Kjarr Numb, right? The Kjarr Numb. Okay, let's take a quick summary. Basically it's a paralysis hammer that was kind of forgotten in the base game, because people were only looking for a Tarot Hammer Sleep, and even in Iceborne, since most of the KT weapons kind of suck, as some of like elementals, like Charge Blade and stuff like that. Like Charge Blade bows, they kind of clamor over the KT weapons. But yeah, Paralysis Hammer Element Hammer wasn't really a thing until I've discovered this baby, this weapon right here, the Kjarr Hammer Numb. Let's look at the stats once upgraded. It has 1444 attack, as you can see here. Wait, where's it? There. 1444 attack, wide sharpness, 20% affinity, 480 paralysis. Interesting stat. You can say that, I guess. The attacks is slightly way less than freaking Kjarr Ishvalda's hammer, but it has slightly more sharpness, I guess. That's the thing. Kjarr has like really tiny white and really tiny purple, and doesn't have affinity at all. And also, yeah, well, though it has better slots, regardless. Still, it's not really. It's really dependent on crits, right? It doesn't, which the problem is, like, you use Shadow Hammer and then it just freaking burns to white, and then your damage is gonna be kind of slower. But yeah, it's almost comparable to Shadow Hammer, I believe. But here's the thing though, it has paralysis, it has critical status. So let's take a quick recap. What does critical status do? Well, to sum it up, it's pretty much increase your critical status but your status build up by 40%, according to the Google, according to some searching I did. So let us just see how it fares. No, the thing is I want to show you is that some people, I've been playing with some people, and they are kind of amazed by how much para can I pull off in like less amount of time. And it's because of this hammer. It's pretty much not me, it's the hammer's doing. The hammer is actually quite insane for ailment, for like paralysis ailment. It's really good, because there's not a lot of monsters that are immune to paralysis. The only thing I can call is like Kjarr, and that's it. Kjarr is the only one who is strong against this, who is immune to the paralysis. Otherwise, none. Like zero. None. Literally no one is immune to paralysis. So here's the thing, right? Hey, since people would ask logically, oh, you're playing an element hammer, you're playing an element paralysis hammer, therefore people think, oh, you should spin to win a lot. Not really. The thing is with like paralysis hammer is that you want to apply you also want to help your teammates, and spin to win doesn't help much in multiplay. So what we do is we do this instead. This combo right here. This is pretty much the bread and butter of this build. Oh, look at that, 1.4k. 10 hits too, right? It's pretty insane. So, that's the thing. It's 10 hits, applies more hit than spin to win. Spin to win only applies 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then final upswing. 7, right? So that doesn't apply a lot of paralysis. But this thing does. 10 hits. Some paralysis points there, I believe. Now, not only that you gain some paralysis buildup, you also help your team by tenderizing the part. And this is what you want to mostly do when playing this hammer. Use the tenderizing attack. Since they make hammer really good at tenderizing parts. Really good. That's what you want to use there. So here's the thing, right? But then what's it called? Let's just take a look at the build, right? So here's the thing. Okay, we're using Kjarr. Why don't you build paralysis attack? That's the first question that would strike your mind, right? Because what happened is that with paralysis attack, you have to drop some crits logically, because it's like the what other ways to build paralysis attack rather than just to build crits, or like you can drop attack boost, but since the hammer is kind of low in damage, it's kind of necessary to have some level of attack boost, so to compensate kind of. I mean, that's the hammer's weakness. It doesn't have a lot of damage, like raw damage. It doesn't have a lot of it. But let's just move on. So why no paralysis attack? Because how crit status works, right? Crit status. Let's recap. Crit status only procs when you crit like that. When you crit like that, it procs, and it gives you 40% extra critical status buildup. That's what I'm trying to say. So let us just try to do this. So every hit crits, right? If every hit crits, that means there's gonna be more status buildup. There's gonna be more status buildup for you. 1, 2, 3. Every hit crits, as you can see. That's the point. Since every hit crits, critical status will always guarantee to trigger. Where it's going to always trigger. The thing is with critical status is that you need to have the crit and the status proc at the same time. This build guarantees that would happen all the time. Now, let's take a look at how much paralysis can we do in an instant. So, let's assume this combo can generate like 3 paralysis buildup. 1. That's 3 right there. I'm pretty sure that's 3. So that's 3. Let's do a little calculation on how element works. Unlike element doesn't have a fixed buildup, right? So let's say we have 480 here. 480 divided by 6, because that's how hammer scales. Damage scale. Damage scaling is like 1 per 6, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, let's go with that. 1 per 6. 1 per 6 divided by 480 is about 80 damage. 80 paralysis buildup. Okay. Now take the 40% from crit status and you get 112 paralysis buildup per tick. So now picture this. We're gonna be doing this a lot, right? You tenderize the part for your friends. You build a lot of paralysis. Look at that. That's just pretty much 4 procs. And guess how much that does? That does 400 paralysis buildup. Insane. Most monsters doesn't have a lot of high paralysis buildup. Probably like around 1,000. This is what you're going to be doing a lot. However, you cannot spam this. Why? Because you don't want the paralysis. You don't want it to be harder for you to build the paralysis. So, when the monster is paralyzed, you can mix in a KO. You can use an up swing to KO. You can still play hammer normally at this time. You can mix in a KO. You can mix in like freaking one of these. Really good like combo, charging combo. You can mix in like, and then you can dodge. You can like because why? Because you can actually cancel the big bang. There's an opposite. That's why it's pretty good. That move is pretty good. It applies more text too. So yeah, that's the point of it. We need to get more text because hammer doesn't have a lot in their their toolkit. Alright. So or you can mix in a little KO, you can mix in a little para, You can build KO while parad while they're parad, and vice versa. You can build parad while they're KO. Now the issue is like it's about timing. How much that, and this is the thing that I'm still trying to learn. It's about timing. Every monster has a different paralysis threshold. To maximize damage, you want to do this when the monster is actually enraged, right? You don't want to paralyze him too early because people running agitator is gonna get angry as fuck. Dude, why you para him so early? And then the problem is like when you didn't time the para right, you're actually not capitalizing the para too much. So you only want to spam this attack when they're agitated to gain maximum damage. Because you're also gonna gain damage because you're running Agitator 7. And it also guarantees crits. Because with Wex, it does 95% crit, right? So let's calculate. Let's see Wex and exploit right here. It increases your crit by 30% when hitting weak spots, right? So, added for this 65%, it's not 100% though. But when you tenderize, you have to be careful. You kind of have to be considerate when you're applying paralysis. In fact, you kind of have to hold back before when the monster goes in rage. You can then go all in on the paralysis. That's the thing. That's always the gimmick, right? But with agitator also you gain crit, so that means no need to tender. You don't really care about where you hit because with Wex, with the Wex is yeah. So it's like 85% at least for like non-weak ones, which is also fine. Still fine. It's actually still really fine. But you still want to hit with weak spots with this thing to gain more paraprocs, right? So yeah, that's the thing. The point here. You want to hit with spots. You still use weakness exploit. You still use agitator. The point, yeah. The thing is like you cannot overcommit to paralyzing the monster as early as possible. That's not the way to do it, right? So, what else do I want to talk about? Yeah. Now, what you can do with this build is juggle the monster with KO, with para, and if they have a part break topple like Berioth, Valhazak, and those are the two that I can call by name. Anjanath, Glavenus, any of that, like part break topples, right? Or like flinch topple or anything, any kind of topple. You want to kind of juggle that too, which makes it an interesting game plan. You kind of have to master the monsters like movesets and stuff, or like master the monster itself. That's the key core here. The core essence of this build is that you need to master the monster in order to gain maximum juggling potential. You can juggle them between part break, KO, and anything. Part break, KO, para, and repeat. That's pretty much it. So, this is a build. So the last question is probably, what's this build for? This is the build where you become the true hammer bros. You tenderize for your friends, and gunners doesn't have to use paralysis, coatings, or ammo. They can just focus on damage, while you tenderize for them and still deal damage. So considerable damage, and paralyze them too, and KO them too. So yeah, it's a really good build if you're a team player. If this is definitely good for you. It rewards you or your bravery with like devastating openings, like pretty big openings. Paralysis lasts for like quite a bit, so your friends actually can beat the monster down. Like yeah, it's pretty much a really team player kind of build. But don't get me wrong, this you can solo with this build. You can the thing is with this build, why I like it initially, it's because the paralysis guarantees a big bang. Big bang, as you all know, really slow, right? Really slow move, but really definite. It deals about 2000 damage in at max. It can deal 2000 damage at max. I believe my demon powder ran out, so let's reapply that. So let's reset. So with this, we can deal like 2000 damage, assuming the monster is paralyzed. Look at this. Boom, 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 boom. Almost 2000, I guess, but that's okay. We can. That's not even including attack up large, which what you want to be eating. I recommend you eat specialist and attack up large in order to gain maximum potential, to unlock your maximum potential. If you eat for specialist, you'll get, instead of 480, you get 510 of paralysis, which is even more powerful. Hitbox is a bit weak on this thing. So yeah, that's the main gimmick of this weapon. The main gimmick of this hammer, the main gimmick of this build, I guess. So here's the build again. Let me show it one more time. It's pretty standard stuff. Oh yeah, one more thing I want to address, dude. Why don't you just put a meta hammer on? Because it's, to me, honestly, I don't know about you, it's pretty boring. It's like, it's super like bland. Sometimes when you just go follow the meta and stuff. This is like a nice refresher, you know. It's really refreshing, a refreshing experience. But otherwise, why, you would say, dude, why does it look like a hammer build, like a generic hammer build in terms of armor? Because it is generic. Because hammer builds tend to favor crits, and that's what we need in paralysis too. We need a lot of crits instead of paralysis attack. We need more crits, so that critical status would trigger more. It's essentially, okay, essentially the paralysis attack are covered by critical status, right? And when you want to do critical status, you want to do a lot of crits. So it's kind of a logical fallacy right there. So yeah, no, 1914 attack, not bad. I believe Safi can reach like 2000-ish attack, so it's not that far off. It's pretty far, but it's not that far off. It's not far-fetched. It's not like a mile away. So yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say. I honestly I adore this build. It's really awesome. It's like you become a team player in a way. You paralyze the monster, you give them chaos, you give them tenderize parts, so they don't have to tenderize. It's really wholesome build, you know. If you play it properly. It's a very helpful build, in a way. Sorry, that's my session ID. Oops. But yeah, that's pretty much what it is. Finally, a final note is that I love this weapon. It's more than any weapon, any hammer that ever existed. So I'ma thank you again for watching. I'll see you later, or maybe in a hunt. I don't know. Hopefully in a hunt. Alright, until next time. See you guys. And take care. Bye.